What is up, everyone? It's SpireFan here. We just got done with a wonderful Pokemon TCG Highlander monthly for the month of September. A lot of cool matchups that you're about to see. Everyone had a fun time, and most importantly, they take what they had in their enjoyment, and they're already going to come back next month with new strategies, a new center of focus into what they want to bring, whether it's an older deck or something brand new. That's always the fun part about these monthlies, is seeing what people bring. And you know, at the end of the day, we're here to play Pokemon and just have good games across the tournament. So without further ado, let's get into it. We got 5 rounds today. It was a lot of fun. We'll talk about the results at the end of the tournament. So round 1, we got Gage versus JGray. Both these players actually drove out from Lawrence, Kansas. We're on the Missouri side of the Kansas City Metro, so props to them for driving out here to play some Pokemon. That's really awesome. They do get paired round 1, but that's good. Everyone played everyone today, so there's a lot of fun matchups. Gage is playing an aggressive fighting Hitmon-based deck, and JGray is playing a Burn Center deck. You can see the Armarouge ASAP. Armarouge has this Pokebody that says if the defending Pokemon is burned, they cannot affect Armarouge by damage of an attack, or effects in general. So you can actually hard wall if you just keep burning them. If you run things like Burning Scarf, it's very strong. As we saw on Gage's side, he actually led with a Geodude that did a self-destruct to take an early prize card. We'll see if that makes a big difference later on. Obviously, that's also just a free resource. We see the Hitmonchan with the Eviolite DCE. Hitmonchan's going to come and swing in, does good reliable damage, also has good counter damage with Counter Punch. We see Hitmonchan level X, a level up Pokemon that's able to actually attack multiple times with its Poke Power if you discard a fighting energy. But we see that Gage was quick to realize that he needs to swap that out for a form change key. Thankfully, the Eviolite did not make a difference here, and JGray was okay with it. On JGray's side, we see Volcarona go down. Volcarona adds 1 extra burn damage between turns, so we can see that JGray is aiming for like a hyper burn control deck with his active Heatmore, able to pull things up and burn them, and then cause a lot of damage. Even with Volcarona gone, 20 between turns is nothing to laugh at, especially with the bench control that Heatmore gives you. As we see on JGray's bench, he has a Venusaur being set up, with Ivysaur being able to grant sleep on the opponent by just evolving. We see the N, which is very good in this mid-game here, helping JGray hopefully get back into the game, as we saw him kind of losing a bit of momentum. But so that was crucial there. He wanted that blend energy, but he didn't have the third energy for Heatmore's final attack. Blend would be very good on Venusaur here. Very good synergy, because JGray is running both Leafeon and Flareon in this deck, so there's definitely a lot of good combos you can do with Grass and Fire, and Blend Energy really helps with the consistency there. We see on Gage's side that he has now brought up Hitmontop after Hitmonchan level X went down with an Eviolite and Strong Energy, which means Hitmontop really is dishing both offense and defense at a lethal level, able to just withstand, and basically Eviolite helps circumvent the downside to close combat. We see Venusaur being promoted, but as saw earlier, JGray does not have the blend energy that was on Heatmore. He probably was looking for another one, but he also does not have a supporter to go fish that out. We see his Stadium card that is going to allow him to burn and guarantee the damage between turns, because the opponent will always flip tails. Technically, both players will, but it's a lot harder for JGray to be burned in this matchup, that's for sure. The only way he really could be burned is if Venusaur does it to himself, which you are able to do, and it looks like Gage maintains the momentum and keeps at it for round 1. So round 2, we see Gage versus Sax. And now Sax is coming with a new deck compared to last month. He actually has won the last 2 monthlies, and it's actually pretty crazy to see him just keep reinventing new ideas. Sax starts with a Heliolisk, and we see Sentrant on the bench. Looks like he's setting up for Pawmot as fast as possible. Pawmot's going to let him stream energy, and then that Stantler on the bench, kind of like what Steven was playing, where you can just fetch supporters to get resources. But take note on Gage's side, he starts with a Quagsire ASAP. Quagsire's Pokebody says all your fighting Pokemon do 10 more. So he's swinging with the strong energy and the Pokebody. He's hitting for 70 damage and then 20 on the bench. Very strong, very, very good attack. Looks like he takes a prize from the Quagsire damage. He actually has already taken 2 prizes, so Sax is going to have to find some way to respond. Looks like he already has Vikavolt with a Z Crystal. Now Sax used a Z Crystal throughout the entire tournament. He did not use form changes. Props to him for being daring like that, because he does have Stantler and Furret level X, but he's wanting to try out how much damage he can really dish out. I mean, Vikavolt already KOs most Pokemon in the format, thanks to its second attack, but the second attack has to discard 3 energy. Of course, he's playing triple acceleration energy, and he can stream those thanks to Furret's Poke Power. You see right here, he gets the Super Rod Energy Exchanger, he has fast ways to get out triple Accel, and he only needs 1. That's the beauty of Furret. Once you get 1, you can just keep streaming it from the discard pile by shuffling 2 cards from your hand into your deck. We see that Gage does have the Fighting Stadium, he promotes Tyrogue, but looks like that Vikavolt Z Crystal play was lethal, because Gage still has the prize lead. We see Groudon, we see Hitmontop able to do damage back on Vikavolt, which is good. Looks like he's going for the triple kick. Now the thing is that Vikavolt and Pawmot actually do not have weaknesses to fighting. In fact, a lot of Sax's Pokemon in general have just a various amounts of type weaknesses, which actually plays a big role here, especially in the expanded format in Pokemon. A lot of lightning Pokemon are weak to fighting, but in Highlander, as you see, just like the video games, weaknesses are all over the place. So you can actually do very good type coverage, and it's actually helping Sax here, because now the prizes are even. Sax maintains his momentum with Cynthia, uses Furret to get whatever energy he wants, plays Broken Time Space to get Heliolisk ASAP. Heliolisk, just like Furret, lets him shuffle or cycle energy from the discard pile. This time it's basic lightning, but he doesn't pay a cost there. Again, Vikavolt finally goes down, but has caused so much trouble that, well, here comes Pawmot, and Sax is looking to close out the game. Pawmot's very similar to Vikavolt, both do high amounts of damage, but discard a lot as the cost. Now, thankfully, both Vikavolt and Pawmot accelerate because of their power, and that includes both for each other. And so Sax makes the comeback and wins the game. Next round, we have KWilly versus JGray. KWilly is playing his deck from last month, a very cool Aegislash Skarmory deck that works by spreading around damage, and then Aegislash doubles it all with Painful Sword. We see the Pineco, Shieldon, Honedge set up on the bench while Skarmory leads. Skarmory is a very strong lead for this deck, and just in general because of all the damage it can spread if the opponent retreats, and just doing good disruption for just 1 metal energy. We see that he does not opt to use Skarmory level X, looks like he's waiting later for another Pokemon. He has multiple Pokemon in this deck that can form change, but like we saw with Sax, you could also use a Z Crystal as an option. The thing is that Fortress is weak to fire, but with Aegislash, KWilly is saved by having his weakness erased for all his Pokemon. So then we see JGray use the Blend Energy on Torkoal. Torkoal's a very strong lead because your bench basically can't be tampered with. Torkoal finally goes down, and so now he promotes Flareon. It looks like Flareon might be a bit early in its promotion, but that wasn't in JGray's control. That was more of KWilly blitzing some damage. And yeah, it looks like JGray is just a double colorless energy away from doing a lot of damage. There it is. And so now he can start really attacking, especially with that stadium mount that says all burned Pokemon don't flip, and they basically remain burned for as long as they're out. We see the benched Heatmore and Bulbasaur. Venusaur lets you freely choose special conditions between Poison, Burned, or Sleep if you flip heads. If they're an EX, it's an auto heads. So it's very good in this deck. Ivysaur also just grants you a sleep when you evolve into him. So we see the EV play with the double colorless, looking like he's getting ready to stream a Leafeon here. But we see the interesting play where Heatmore pulls up Bastiodon, because Bastiodon protects all of KWilly's bench, but Bastiodon has a lot of HP, and because of a Pokemon Tool card on Bastiodon, he's going to be healing 10 between turns. I think that actually buys him enough time to set up that Exploud there on the bench. Right now a Loudred, but you see the fully loaded Aegislash, and Loudred's getting ready. Both these Pokemon are about to spread a ton of damage on the board. And so in this case, KWilly is perfectly comfortable with leaving Bastiodon out as long as possible, because his bench cannot be hit. Now it can be pulled up through Heatmore, but he's thankfully bought enough time to promote Sandslash, go into the level X, and what's cool is that the special metal energy provides fighting because of dual typing here, and it stops the self-damage from Sandslash level X's second attack. So as you can see now on JGray's board, there's a lot of damage. There's a lot of damage on KWilly's board too, but his deck is more prepared for that. We see the painful sword from Aegislash. All the damage counters are doubled on JGray's side. JGray promotes Leafeon to get some momentum back. It's a pretty close game overall. So KWilly recognizes that if he wants to win, he's got to, get that momentum back. His Exploud is ready to attack, but he's going to keep promoting Sandslash level X to put a lot of damage on the board, just enough for Exploud to use its last attack and just nab 2 prize cards, to the point that other people at the table definitely heard it and were like, whoa, nice, man. Another thing is that Exploud and Aegislash both have the same Pokebody with a different name, so basically KWilly has played this whole game with no weaknesses, which is very good because he's playing a lot of metal Pokemon weak to fire. And actually KWilly takes that game very close, but at the end of the day, this damage spread is what was needed to lock in the win. Round 4, we see Steven versus Gage. Again, Gage has come back to playing Highlander after a few months off, and he's actually done really well. Steven, a long-term veteran player that has kept at it, has been at almost every single tournament, and has been keeping at it with this new Lost Zone deck that he's been promoting for a few months now, which is good. I say new, but what I mean by that is Steven is a very dedicated player. Think of like a fighting game where you main someone, and you want to keep honing like the techniques with that character, in this case the Lost Zone deck. He promotes Stantler, does Steven's advice to get 3 of any cards, and he gets Shuffle Armor because he used it through Stantler's attack. If you're new, Shuffle Armor is basically if you get resources through an attack to your hand, those cards can't be shuffled in next turn through cards like Ann or Marnie. We see Groudon, though, blitzing Steven. Once again, Gage has already taken a prize card. He's running a lot of Pokemon that can just blitz damage. You add stuff like Strong Energy and Quagsire, and there's just a ton of Pokemon that are being knocked out on average early in the game. We see that Steven already has Golisopod and Silvally out, a lethal combo because Silvally grants no retreat cost to all your basic Pokemon. Golisopod does more damage if he moved in that turn. So all you need to do is promote a basic Pokemon like Stantler there, free retreat to Golisopod, and there you go, do a ton of damage for 1 grass energy. So it looks like Steven's already trying to steal momentum back. Looks like Gage doesn't have the resources he wants to keep the momentum up, and Steven takes that game. Final round is Steven versus Ryan Green. Now Ryan unfortunately couldn't make it to the tournament, so I took his place so that we didn't have any bye rounds and everyone got to play all 5 rounds. Ryan is playing this really cool deck, Tyrantrum, Ariados, Mightyena. Ariados self-inflicts poison but also poisons the opponent, so you just deal a ton of damage. Mightyena doesn't need energy if he has a special condition, and Conkeldurr has Facade, which does a lot of damage if he has a special condition. Tyrantrum works with Villain, as you can see on the bench with Scatterbug. Villain converts all the energy into Dragon and do a ton for one triple Accel. Ryan's also running Furret to get that triple Accel back, just like Sax. No, those 2 players did not collaborate whatsoever. It's pretty funny they both played Furret at this tournament. So I promote Ariados level up to get more HP and put some pressure with the Razor counters thanks to Ariados level X's Pokebody. I try to get some damage on the board, but as you can see, I'm supporter dry, and he's been sending my Pokemon to the Lost Zone thanks to Lost City. Ryan is the most famous player in Highlander right now to play the most recovery cards on average, which adds to his aggressive playstyle overall, but this is actually the Achilles heel here to what is actually usually a very strong strategy, is that if you Lost Zone Pokemon, you can't use your recovery cards. And that's what happened there, is I didn't have supporters. I got my Pokemon sent to the Lost Zone. I couldn't recycle my Tyrant, which actually had a really strong lead because of Stantler being weak to fighting. And so Steven was able to outplay a lot of the things brought in Ryan's deck, and also capitalize off of me not streaming momentum with a lack of supporters. Thanks again for tuning in. We had a great tournament, and I look forward to seeing everyone in October. Have a good one.